The rain didn't care that it was almost midnight. It came down hard and fast, the kind of rain that soaks through your jacket before you even realize it is started, the kind that fogs up your glasses, blurs your GPS, and turns every street in a quiet neighborhood into a mirror of blinking lights and shadow. Anna stood on the porch of 14 Birchwood Lane, a delivery bag in one hand, her phone in the other, rainwater dripping from the tip of her nose. She had knocked twice. No answer. She knocked again. 3 sharp raps this time, the way she knocked when she was tired and cold, and had 2 more deliveries after this one, and a babysitter who charged extra after midnight. The door opened, and Anna's carefully organized Tuesday night fell completely apart. He was tall. That was the first thing she noticed. Not because she was looking, she wasn't. She was already glancing back at her phone to double-check the address. But because, when the door swung open, the light from inside framed him in a way that made her look up instinctively. He was barefoot, grey sweatpants, a worn navy t-shirt that looked like it had been washed 100 times into the perfect kind of softness. Dark hair, slightly messy, like he'd been running his hands through it. A glass of water in one hand, and eyes dark, quiet, and completely unprepared for her, staring down at her from the doorway. He didn't look like a man who lived in any normal neighborhood, but Anna didn't know that yet. "Hi," she said, holding up the bag. "Order for—" She glanced at her screen. "Lucas?" He looked at the bag, then at her, then at the bag again. "I didn't order anything," he said. His voice was low, calm. The kind of calm that doesn't come from a relaxed life. It comes from years of controlling every room you walk into. Anna blinked. She looked at her phone. She looked at the address. She looked at the street sign, barely visible through the rain. 14 Birchwood Lane. She was at 14 Birchwood Lane. She looked at her app again, and that is when she saw it. The tiny, devastating detail her exhausted eyes had missed 40 minutes ago when she accepted the order. Birchwood Lane. She was supposed to be on Birchwood Drive. They were on opposite sides of the neighborhood. A full 12 minutes away. Oh no, she whispered no, to him just, to the universe, to the night. To whatever force had decided that today of all days, after a 9-hour shift at the hospital, after picking up Lily from her neighbor's house, after putting her daughter to bed and kissing her forehead and whispering, "I'll be back before you wake up." After all of that, she was going to make a mistake that would cost her this delivery, cost her the rating hit, and cost her the 12 minutes she did not have. "Oh no," she said again, quieter this time, and something shifted in his face. He had been about to close the door. She could tell he was a man who kept his world very, very small in this house. That was obvious from the way he'd answered. No warmth, no small talk, just the bare minimum of human interaction. He had been about to say wrong house and close the door and go back to whatever solitary, quiet thing he'd been doing before she knocked. But he didn't. He watched her standing in the rain, soaking wet, staring at her phone with the specific expression of someone doing the math on a very bad situation. And he didn't close the door. "Wrong address?" he asked. "Wrong street," she said, not looking up. "I am so sorry. I'll go." She was already turning. "It is midnight," he said. "I know." She stepped off the porch back into the rain. "And it is pouring." "I know that too." She was pulling up the map on her phone, calculating the reroute, already typing a message to the customer, apologizing for the delay. "You are going to drive across the neighborhood in this to deliver someone's food." She finally looked up at him, and for just a moment, one unguarded, unrehearsed moment, she looked at him the way nobody in his life ever looked at him anymore. No, with recognition. No, with calculation. No, with the particular performance people put on when they realized who he was. She looked at him like he was just a man standing in a warm doorway, asking her a mildly unnecessary question while she was standing in the rain. "That is the job," she said simply. And she walked back to her car. He stood in the doorway and watched her go. He told himself it was just because he was making sure she got to her car safely in the rain. He told himself that for about 4 seconds. Then he grabbed his keys. "Before we go any further, if you are new here, welcome. We tell stories that will make you feel everything. Subscribe and drop in the comments where you are watching from. We read every single one." No. Let's go back to Anna. Anna had not always been tired. There was a version of her, a girl in a yellow bedroom in Columbus, Ohio, with color-coded notebooks and a poster of a hospital on her wall, who had been the most wide-awake person in any room she entered, bright eyes, loud laugh, the kind of person who made friends in line at the grocery store. That girl had wanted to be a doctor since she was 7 years old, sitting in a waiting room watching a woman in a white coat move through a corridor like she owned every inch of it. No, arrogantly, purposefully, like every step she took was going somewhere that mattered. Anna had wanted that. She had worked for that, full scholarship to state, pre-med 3.9 GPA. The plan was clean and clear and entirely hers. Then came Daniel who was charming and certain, and made her feel like the most important person in a room full of important people. Daniel, who talked about the future like it was already decided. Daniel, who was standing in their apartment doorway 3 months after Anna found out she was pregnant, suitcase in hand, saying the words she had somehow both expected and never believed would actually come. "I am not ready for this, Anna. I am sorry." He had left, and Anna had stayed. No, because she had nowhere to go, but because there was a tiny heartbeat inside her that had done absolutely nothing wrong, and Anna had looked at that ultrasound and made a decision in the space between one breath and the next. She would stay. She would figure it out. She would not let this be the end of the story. That had been 4 years ago. No, Anna was 28 years old, mother to a 4-year-old named Lily, who had her father's eyes and absolutely none of his habits. Lily stayed. Lily showed up. Lily loved with her whole tiny body, wrapping her arms around Anna's neck every morning like she was saving her life, which on most days she was. Anna was also 3 semesters away from finishing her physician assistant degree. Night classes, online modules, at 1 a.m. when Lily was asleep. Flashcards in the hospital break room during 12-minute lunches. She worked as a patient care tech at St. Catherine's Medical Center 3 days a week, and on the nights she wasn't at the hospital, she drove for DoorDash. No, because she wanted to. Because rent in this city had decided to become a personality. Because Lily needed new shoes every 3 months. Because 4-year-olds apparently grow at an unreasonable rate. Because student loans existed and were not interested in her circumstances. Because Anna had exactly one person she could call in a real emergency. Her neighbor Mrs. Chen, 67 years old, who watched Lily for $20 an hour and always had soup on the stove, and never once made Anna feel like a burden, which was more than she could say for most people in her life. So Anna drove 3, sometimes 4 nights a week. She had a system. She had a playlist. She had a travel mug of the cheapest coffee that still technically qualified as coffee. She had a laminated picture of Lily taped to her dashboard that she looked at whenever a customer was rude, or the app glitched, or the rain came down so hard she couldn't see the road for you. She would think, "All of this is for you." Tonight had started like any other night. Mrs. Chen had arrived at 7:30. Lily had been in her pajamas, already droopy-eyed, holding her stuffed rabbit named Pancake and reaching up for Anna's neck with both arms. "Don't go, Mama. I'll be back before you wake up, baby. Promise, I promise." She always kept that promise, even when it cost her. She had been on her 6th delivery when the rain started. She had been on her 8th when she made the mistake with the address, and now she was pulling up outside the correct house on Birchwood Drive, knocking on the door, handing over the bag to a college kid who didn't even look at her, and driving away with a $2 tip and a rating she could only hope wouldn't drop. She sat in her car for a moment in the rain. The clock said 12:07. She had 2 more deliveries queued. If she took them both, she'd be home by 1:30. She could sleep for 5 hours before Lily woke up. She could get through tomorrow. She could keep going. She always kept going. She was about to accept the next delivery when her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost ignored it. She almost always ignored unknown numbers at midnight because nothing good had ever come from an unknown number at midnight. But something made her pick up. "Hello," silence for a beat, then, "Is this the driver from Birchwood Lane?" Anna went very still. "Who is this?" "The man whose door you knocked on 40 minutes ago." A pause. The wrong door. Anna's eyes narrowed at her windshield. How did you get this number? The delivery app has a contact function. Another pause, shorter this time. I contacted you. Why? Because you left something on my porch. Anna's hand went automatically to her jacket pocket phone. Present, keys, present. She looked at the passenger seat. Travel mug, present. She mentally ran through everything she owned, which did not take very long. I don't think I left anything, she said carefully. Your card fell out when you were looking at your phone. It says Anna Reyes, patient care technician, St. Catherine's Medical, a beat. I thought you might need it. Anna closed her eyes briefly. Her hospital ID badge. The lanyard had been broken for 2 weeks and she kept forgetting to replace it. She must have dropped it when she was pulling out her phone in the rain. She needed that badge. Without it, she couldn't get through the hospital doors tomorrow morning. Okay, she said slowly. I'll come back for it. I'll leave it on the porch. Thank you. She should have hung up. She didn't know why she didn't hang up. You made the delivery? He asked, like he was just asking, like it was just a question, and not him keeping her on the phone for no professional reason at midnight. Yes, she said. Good. Then drive safe. The rain's getting worse near the overpass. And he hung up. Anna stared at her phone for a long moment. Then she drove back to Birchwood Lane. His name was not Lucas. Well, it was. Lucas was his middle name, the name on his food orders, his streaming subscriptions, his grocery deliveries. The name he used in this neighborhood, in this house, in this small quiet life he'd carved out for himself 3 years ago, when he'd realized that being Nathan Lucas Whitmore, founder and CEO of Whitmore Capital Group, with a net worth that had recently crossed $11 billion, was slowly making him into someone he didn't recognize in the mirror. The house on Birchwood Lane had been his mother's idea. No, this specific house. His mother had been gone for 6 years and had never seen this neighborhood. But the idea of it, she had always said, Nathan, you need somewhere that is just yours. No, the company's. No, the board's just yours. His mother had grown up 3 blocks from here, in a small house with a broken furnace, and a garden that somehow always bloomed anyway. She had worked 2 jobs to put herself through nursing school. She had met his father, an engineer who worked too many hours and laughed too rarely, and together they had built a modest, sturdy, loving life that Nathan had grown up inside of, like it was the most natural thing in the world. He had been 14 when his father's small engineering firm got its first big contract. He had been 17 when Nathan himself had written his first piece of software in the school computer lab at 11 p.m., missing a party he'd been invited to because something about the problem on the screen was more interesting than anything waiting for him at Jake Pullman's house. He had been 23 when Whitmore Capital's first fund closed at $40 million. He had been 31 when the Forbes list stopped being something he checked and started being something his PR team managed. He was 34 now, and on most Tuesday nights he was here, in sweats, barefoot, making himself a plate of food from the farmer's market 3 streets over because he'd never learned to cook properly, and he found the limitation oddly comforting. Reading. Sometimes just sitting, existing in a way that required nothing from him and asked nothing of him and let him remember, just briefly, that he was a person before he was a portfolio. His assistant didn't have this address. His board didn't have this address. His PR team, his driver, his personal chef at the penthouse, his 3 college roommates, who had all become wealthy in various industries and still met for dinner 4 times a year. None of them had this address. He had given it to exactly 2 people, his lawyer, and his older sister Diane, who lived in Portland and used it exclusively to send him birthday cards that arrived 2 weeks late and always made him laugh. He had not expected in any version of this Tuesday night to open his door to a woman standing in the rain holding the wrong food order. He had especially not expected to stand in his doorway for 30 seconds after she walked away, watching her go, with the specific sensation of something shifting in his chest that he had not felt in a very long time. Nathan was not a man who fell easily. He had been in 2 serious relationships. Both had ended the same way, not in fights, not in betrayal, but in the quiet discovery that the women he was with had gradually stopped seeing him, and started seeing the life that came with him. The apartments, the travel, the events, the access. They weren't bad people. They just wanted something he couldn't give them, because what they wanted wasn't actually him. He had stopped looking after the second one. No dramatically, no with bitterness. Just practically, the way he made most decisions. He had looked at the data of his own life and concluded that what he was looking for didn't seem to exist in the circles he moved in, and he didn't have the energy to keep searching. That had been 2 years ago. He was fine. He was fine. He was fine. He was standing at his kitchen counter, staring at a small laminated hospital ID badge that said Anna Reyes above a photo of a woman who was looking at the camera with an expression that was not quite a smile. It was something more interesting than a smile. It was the expression of someone who has somewhere to be and is tolerating this photograph as a necessary inconvenience. She had kind eyes. Even in a bad ID photo, he set the badge down on the counter. He picked up his phone and did something he told himself, even as he was doing it, was a completely reasonable thing to do. He called the number. He told himself it was just to let her know the badge was there. He told himself that for the entire length of the phone call. He was still telling himself that when he heard her car pull up outside 12 minutes later, and he found himself moving toward the door before she'd even knocked. She knocked once. He opened the door to find her standing there, rain damp, a different kind of tired on her face than before it had been the tiredness of logistics, of a problem to solve. This was something quieter, like the night had finally gotten through to her. The badge was on the small table just inside the door. He picked it up and held it out. She took it. "Thank you." "You are welcome." She looked at the badge, then clipped it to her jacket with the practiced motion of someone who did it every day. She glanced up and caught him watching her, and for a moment neither of them said anything. The rain had softened. It was a drizzle now, the kind that hangs in the air more than it falls. "You work at St. Catherine's?" he asked. 3 days a week. She looked at him with the particular assessment of a woman who has learned to read situations quickly. "You knew that from the badge." "I did." He leaned against the doorframe. "Patient care tech, you are in school. PEPA program." She said it flatly, not with pride or apology, just fact. 3 semesters left. "That is a hard road. Most good things are." She said it without self-pity, without performance. Just the simple, settled conviction of someone who had made peace with the difficulty of her own life a long time ago, and had no interest in being praised for it or pitied for it. Something about it made him want to keep talking to her. He couldn't remember the last time he'd wanted to keep talking to someone. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." She looked at him directly. "Why did you call me? You could have just left the badge on the porch, like you said." He looked back at her just as directly. "You are right, I could have." "So why didn't you?" A beat. "I wanted to make sure you came back for it," he said. "People leave things and then convince themselves they don't need them." It was true. It was also not the complete truth. He was aware of both things simultaneously. Anna looked at him for a moment longer. Then something in her face shifted, not softening exactly, more like a door opening a crack, just a crack. "I am Anna," she said. "I know it is on the badge." A pause. "I am Nathan. I know you said your name when you answered the phone." He smiled. It surprised him. It was a real smile, the unguarded kind, and it came before he could decide whether to let it. She noticed. He could tell she noticed, but she didn't react to it the way people usually reacted to his smile, like it was a gift. She just looked at him steadily, with those eyes that had nowhere to be dishonest. "I should go," she said. "I have 2 more deliveries. It is almost 12:30, I know. You said you'd be home before your daughter wakes up." She went very still. Something shifted in the air between them. "What?" she said quietly. He met her eyes. "You said it on the phone. When you were looking at your badge before I said anything, you looked at it and you said," he paused, making sure he got it right, "I need this for tomorrow morning. And then you said, I promised her I'd be back." He paused. "I assumed." Anna stared at him. She went through most of her days being precisely as invisible as a woman in scrubs, holding a clipboard, or a woman in a rain jacket holding a delivery bag could be. People looked through her. People looked past her. People saw the function she was serving, and not the person serving it. He had listened to 30 seconds of her talking to herself in the rain, and filed it away like it mattered. "She is 4, Anna said finally. Her voice was even, but something behind it wasn't. "Her name is Lily. That is a good name. She chose it herself. Long story." The corner of her mouth moved. No, quite a smile, something more careful. "She is the reason for all of this." She gestured vaguely, at herself, at the delivery bag, at the midnight rain. "I know that feeling," he said quietly. "Doing everything for a reason that has nothing to do with you." Anna looked at him. "You have kids?" she asked. "No." A pause. "I meant something else." She didn't push. He appreciated that she didn't push. "I really should go," she said. "I know." But she stood there for just one more moment, and he stood in the doorway for just one more moment. And the drizzle came down soft and silver between them. "Thank you for calling," she said finally. "For the badge. I would have panicked in the morning." "I know you would have." She looked at him once more, that direct, uncalculating look. Then she walked to her car, got in, and drove away. Nathan stood in his doorway for a long time after her taillights disappeared around the corner. He went back inside. He sat down. He looked at the space on his counter where the badge had been. And for the first time in 2 years, Nathan Whitmore felt something loosen in his chest, something he hadn't realized had been locked, like a window opening in a house that had been shut up for too long. He didn't sleep well that night. He told himself it was the coffee. Anna did not think about him. That was what she told herself on Wednesday morning. Getting Lily dressed in her dinosaur shirt and making oatmeal with the brown sugar Lily insisted was non-negotiable. Packing the daycare bag, checking her own bag, checking her badge, present, clipped, secure, and driving to secure. Catherine's with the radio on low and Lily singing something in the back seat that may or may not have been an actual song. She did not think about the man at the door. She did not think about his voice, which had been calm in a way that felt chosen rather than natural, like a man who had learned stillness, the way other people learn languages, out of necessity, in difficult circumstances, until it became fluent. She did not think about the way he'd noticed what she said to herself in the rain. She absolutely did not think about the fact that when she'd said Lily's name, his whole face had done something, just briefly, that looked like the word tender before he caught it. She was not thinking about any of that. She was thinking about her 12 o'clock lecture on pharmacology. She was thinking about the electric bill. She was thinking about Lily's parent-teacher conference on Friday and whether she could move her Thursday shift to cover it. That was what Anna thought about. She got through Wednesday. Thursday she had class until 9, picked up Lily from Missy. Chen's gave her a bath, sat with her while she fell asleep, and then opened her laptop and stared at a pharmacology module for 45 minutes before closing it and staring at the ceiling. On Friday she took 3 DoorDash orders. She did not drive down Birchwood Lane. She was aware of not driving down Birchwood Lane in the way that you are aware of, specifically not doing a thing, which is its own kind of doing it. On Saturday morning she took Lily to the park. It was one of their rituals. Every Saturday that Anna wasn't working, they went to Riverside Park with a bag of goldfish crackers and Pancake the rabbit, and they fed the ducks and went on the swings, and Anna sat on the bench and let herself just be for 1 hour without a to-do list. 1 hour. It was the best hour of her week. Lily was on the swings, her legs pumping with the chaotic enthusiasm of a 4-year-old who had not yet learned the physics of swinging and was making up for it with sheer determination, when Anna heard someone sit down on the bench beside her. She didn't look up immediately. She was watching Lily. She was always watching Lily. She is going to fly off that swing in about 30 seconds if nobody tells her to slow down. Anna turned. Nathan was sitting 18 inches away from her, in jeans and a grey jacket, holding a coffee cup from the place around the corner. He looked different in daylight. The shadows weren't covering anything. He was just clearly and simply very good-looking, in a way that seemed accidental rather than curated, which made it somehow more unsettling. He also looked genuinely surprised to see her, which meant this was not planned, which meant the universe had a very specific sense of humor. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I live 4 blocks from here." He nodded toward the east end of the park. I run here on Saturday mornings. He looked at her. What are you doing here? I live 6 blocks from here. She turned back to Lily. We come every Saturday. A pause, small neighborhood, he said, apparently. Lily had noticed her mother looking sideways at someone and had dragged her feet to slow the swing with the practiced efficiency of a child who does not miss anything. She was now staring at Nathan with the wide-eyed, completely unsubtle assessment that only 4-year-olds can execute. "Mama," Lily said loudly, "who is that man?" "That is not a question, baby. That is a demand," Anna said. "What do we say?" Lily considered this. "Mama, who is that man, please?" Nathan made a sound. It took Anna a second to realize it was a laugh, short and surprised and genuine, the laugh of someone who hadn't expected to laugh and wasn't entirely sure what to do with it. "I am Nathan," he said to Lily. Lily assessed him for a long moment with the forensic thoroughness of a tiny detective. "Do you know my mama?" "A little bit. From where?" "She came to my house by accident." Lily turned to Anna with enormous eyes. "Mama, you went to the wrong house. It was a work thing," Anna said. "You always say that." Lily climbed off the swing and walked directly up to Nathan and looked up at him from approximately 2 feet away. "I am Lily. I am 4. This is Pancake." She held up the rabbit. "He doesn't talk, but he understands everything." Nathan looked at Pancake with complete seriousness. "Good to know," Lily nodded, satisfied, and turned back to the swings. Anna looked at Nathan. Nathan looked at Anna. "She's extraordinary," he said quietly. "I know," Anna said. No false modesty, just a mother who knew exactly what she had. They sat for a moment. The park moved around them. Dogs, joggers, a kid on a too-big bike, the ordinary beautiful noise of a Saturday morning. "Can I buy you a coffee?" he asked. "There is a place around the corner. They have hot chocolate. I am guessing Lily has opinions about hot chocolate." Anna looked at him. She should say no, she had pharmacology notes. She had laundry. She had 11 very good reasons that were all true and all beside the point. "She has extremely strong opinions about hot chocolate," Anna said. "I thought so. 1 cup, Anna said. "Then we have to go." 1 cup, he agreed. He stood and waited while she called Lily over and took her hand, and they walked together toward the park gate, Lily between them, telling Nathan about Pancake's origin story, which involved a birthday party, a magic trick gone wrong, and a very confused grandma. Nathan listened to every word. Anna watched him listen, and something she had been holding very tightly for a very long time shifted just slightly in her chest. Just slightly. He did not tell her who he was. No, that Saturday. No, the following Tuesday when they ran into each other at the farmer's market, and she bought tomatoes, and he bought bread, and they stood in the parking lot for 20 minutes talking about nothing in particular. No, the Thursday when she was walking Lily home from daycare and his car passed, and he slowed down and she said, "We're fine. We're just walking." And he said, "I know. I just wanted to say hi," and she laughed a little and kept walking, and he drove away slowly. He did not tell her. He told himself he was waiting for the right moment. The truth, which he was aware of even while he avoided it, was more complicated than that. When Anna looked at him, she looked at him. No the Forbes list, no the penthouse, no Whitmore Capital, no the version of Nathan that existed in boardrooms and newspapers, and the kind of restaurants where you needed to know someone to get a table. She looked at the man in the grey T-shirt on the porch at midnight, who noticed what she said to herself in the rain, and he did not know what she would do with Nathan Whitmore. He did not know if she would leave, or worse, stay, but differently. Stay looking at the life instead of the man. He had seen it happen enough times. The shift, the subtle recalibration. The way people's eyes changed when they realized the scale of what he was, like a camera adjusting its lens to fit a larger frame. He didn't want her eyes to change, so he said nothing, and in saying nothing he built something. They texted, carefully at first, her dropping a photo of something Lily had drawn and said was a portrait of Pancake which looked exclusively like a haunted circle. Him sending back a photo of the exact same farmer's market bread, uneaten, because he still didn't know what to do with it. Her laughing. Him learning what her laugh looked like in text. 3 lowercase h's, and then a period, which somehow perfectly captured the way she laughed in person, fully briefly, and then composed again immediately. He learned things about her. That she took her coffee black because she'd given up sugar during her first semester to save money and now genuinely preferred it. That she called her mother every Sunday, even though her mother spent half the call worrying about things that hadn't happened yet, because she was the kind of woman who showed love through anticipatory anxiety, and Anna had decided a long time ago to receive it as love. That she was afraid of one thing and one thing only, not of struggling, not of failure, not of the long road she was on. She was afraid of Lily growing up and looking back and thinking her mother had been too tired to be present. That was the thing that woke her at 3 a.m. sometimes. No, the bills, no, the exhaustion that. He told her things too. No, everything, but things. That the house on Birchwood Lane had been his first real act of self-preservation. That he had bought it during a period when he'd realized he couldn't remember the last time he'd done something that wasn't strategic. That he had grown up watching his mother work 2 jobs and still find time to sit at the kitchen table with him at night and ask what he was thinking about. Not what he had done, not what he had achieved. What was he thinking about? And that he missed that, the specificity of being known that way. He didn't tell her about the 11 billion he told himself he would. Soon, when it felt right. He was aware, in the quiet part of his mind, that he was afraid. Nathan Whitmore, who had negotiated with governments and stared down boards of directors and built something from nothing twice over, was afraid of a woman in a rain jacket who looked at him like he was just a person. Because what if knowing changed that look? What if that look was the thing he'd been waiting for without knowing it? What if he was, for the first time in a very long time, not strategic at all? Lily decided she liked Nathan on the 4th Saturday. It wasn't a gradual thing. It was a Tuesday-level decision delivered with Saturday morning conviction. She walked up to him at the park, handed him pancake, and said, "You hold him today," and walked away to the swings as if the matter were settled. Nathan held pancake. He looked at Anna. Anna pressed her lips together to hold in a smile. "She doesn't give pancake to anyone," she said. "No, even me, most days." "What does that mean?" "I have no idea, but I'd take it seriously." Nathan looked at the small stuffed rabbit in his hands. It had a worn left ear and a missing button eye, and had clearly been washed many times and held many more. It was the most important object in a 4-year-old's world. He held it with both hands. After the park they went for hot chocolate. Their 3rd time now, it had become a thing without anyone declaring it a thing. Lily sat between them in the booth and gave Nathan a comprehensive explanation of her daycare classroom's political dynamics, which involved a boy named Marcus who had wrongly claimed ownership of a purple crayon that was clearly communal property. Nathan listened with the expression of a man receiving genuinely important information. "What did you do?" he asked. "I told him purple belongs to everyone," Lily said. "That is correct. I know." She picked up her hot chocolate with both hands. "Are you Mama's friend?" The question landed on the table between the 3 of them. Anna looked at her cup. Nathan looked at Lily. "Yes," he said. "I am your Mama's friend. Do you like her?" "Lily," Anna started. "I like her very much," Nathan said. He said it without looking at Anna. Then he looked at her. And Anna, who had held herself carefully and practically and with great discipline for 4 years, felt something crack open in her chest. Not painfully like light coming through. She looked back at him. Lily nodded, satisfied, and returned to her hot chocolate. It was a Wednesday. Anna had a 12-hour shift. Mrs. Chen had a doctor's appointment that ran long. The backup babysitter cancelled. Lily's daycare called at 2 p.m. to say Lily had a fever of 101 and needed to be picked up. Anna stood in a hospital corridor with her phone in her hand and did the math with the cold, practiced speed of someone who had done this math before. She couldn't leave. She was in the middle of a shift. She couldn't afford to lose the hours. She had no one to call. She stared at her phone. She called Nathan. She didn't plan to. Her thumb found his name before her brain had finished the debate, and she almost hung up before he answered. But he answered on the second ring, which meant he'd picked up fast, which meant, "Hey." I need a favor, she said. You can say no. It is a big ask, and you can absolutely say no. What do you need? Lily has a fever. I can't leave work. Mrs. Chen can't get there for 2 more hours. I need someone to pick her up from daycare and sit with her until I can get there. I am sorry, this is... What is the daycare address? Anna went still. Nathan. Address, Anna. She gave it to him. He was there in 11 minutes. She knew because the daycare director called her to say, "A gentleman named Nathan is here for Lily. Should we release her?" And Anna said yes, and looked at the clock, and it had been 11 minutes since she'd hung up. She got through the last 4 hours of her shift. When she walked through her own front door at 7:30, Lily was on the couch in her pajamas, with a cool cloth on her forehead, watching a cartoon Fever down to 99.2. Nathan was in the kitchen. He had made soup, from a can. Actual soup, or the closest approximation, a man who couldn't cook had managed, which turned out to be a surprisingly competent chicken broth with vegetables, because he had apparently looked up soup for sick child and then driven to the grocery store. Anna stood in her kitchen doorway and looked at this man standing at her stove in her small kitchen in her small apartment, and something inside her that had been locked for a very long time opened completely. She didn't say anything. He turned and saw her face and put down the spoon. "Hey," he said quietly. "Hey," she said. She was great, brave kid. She only cried a little when I first picked her up, and then she told me Pancake wasn't scared. So she wasn't either. Anna laughed. It cracked in the middle. "Come here," he said. She crossed the kitchen, and he put his arms around her, and she put her face against his shoulder, and she was not crying. She was just breathing. Just for a moment, just this. "I've got you," he said, very quietly. Into her hair she believed him. That was the thing. She believed him. And that was also the moment Nathan knew he had to tell her the truth. He told her on a Friday night. Lily was at Mrs. Chen's. Anna had made pasta. The good kind. The kind she made when she wasn't exhausted, with garlic and olive oil and fresh parmesan. They ate at her small table with the mismatched chairs and the candle she'd lit not for romance exactly, but because the overhead light was harsh, and she liked the way candlelight made a room feel like it was keeping a secret. After dinner he was quiet in the way she had learned meant something was coming. "Tell me," she said. He looked at her. "Tell me," she said again gently. "My name is Nathan Lucas Whitmore," he said. "I run a company called Whitmore Capital Group." He paused. "You might have heard of it." Anna was quiet. She had heard of it. Everyone had heard of Whitmore Capital. "My net worth as of last quarter," he said, keeping his eyes on hers, "is approximately $11 billion. The candlelight moved between them. Anna picked up her water glass, set it down, looked at the table, looked at him. "The house on Birchwood Lane," she said slowly. "The sweats, the farmer's market bread. All real," he said quickly. "All of it is real. That is who I am in that house. That is not a performance. You didn't tell me no for weeks." "Yes, why?" And her voice was not angry. That was the thing. It was something quieter and more serious than anger. It was hurt. The particular hurt of someone who had trusted carefully and feels the ground shift. "Because when you look at me," he said, "you look at me, and I didn't know what you would look at after you knew." Anna was quiet for a long time. "That wasn't your decision to make," she said finally. "About what I would do, I know I've been..." She stopped, started again. "I've been building something here, Nathan, in my chest, very carefully, because I don't do this. I do not do this. I have a daughter and a degree to finish, and a life I've built on my own, and I do not just let people in." She looked at him. "I let you in." "I know," he said. His voice was very low. "I know that. Did you think I would run?" Her voice cracked slightly. "Did you think I was? What? Going to try to take something from you? No, never. No, for a second." "Then what?" He looked at her, and she could see it. She could see him, the real him, the one in the grey T-shirt at midnight, the one who held Pancake with both hands, the one who made soup he didn't know how to make, afraid. "I thought you might stay," he said quietly, "but look at the wrong thing." Silence. Anna looked at him for a long moment. "I have been looking at you," she said, "this whole time, just you." Her voice was steady now. "The question is whether you were looking at me, or whether you were managing me." "Looking at you," he said. "Only ever looking at you." The candle moved. "I need you to not do that again," she said. "No managing, no deciding what I can handle. I have been handling things alone for 4 years, and I don't need you to protect me from information." She paused. "I need you to trust me the way I trusted you." "Okay," he said. "Okay," she looked at him. "Okay," he said. "Yes, I am sorry, and okay." Anna looked at him for one more long moment. Then she reached across the table and put her hand over his. "I am not going anywhere," she said quietly. "I am not interested in your money, Nathan. I've never been interested in your money." She looked at him with those direct, uncalculating eyes. "I am interested in the man who drove 11 minutes to pick up my sick daughter and made soup he didn't know how to make." His jaw moved. "That is the man I want," she said simply, "if he is available." Nathan looked at her hand on his. Then he turned his hand over and held hers. "He is available," he said. Lily called him Nate. "No, Nathan, not Mr. Nathan." Nate decided unilaterally on a Saturday morning 4 months later, announced to the park at large, and that was that. Nate came to the parent-teacher conference. He sat in the small chair beside Anna and listened to the teacher talk about Lily's remarkable vocabulary and her generous spirit and her tendency to organize the other children, which the teacher called natural leadership, and which Anna and Nathan both understood meant Lily was running the classroom. Nate was there when Anna got her PA program acceptance letter for the final clinical rotation, the one at the hospital she'd wanted, the competitive one. She called him before she called her mother. He answered on the second ring, same as always, and when she told him he was quiet for a moment, and then he said, "I knew it," with the simple certainty of someone who had never doubted it, and Anna sat on her kitchen floor and cried the kind of tears that are only half about the thing they're about. He kept the house on Birchwood Lane. He kept the farmer's market bread and the grey sweatpants and the porch light on at midnight. He kept the version of himself that lived in that house, because she had shown him that version was the realest one he had. She never asked him to be anything other than what he was. He never again decided what she could handle. They were not a perfect story. They were two people who had both built walls that made sense for where they'd been, learning slowly and honestly how to leave the doors open for each other. Some nights were hard. Some conversations were hard. There were moments when her independence and his control ran directly into each other, and neither of them backed down easily. But they looked at each other. They kept looking at you. And it had all started on a rainy Tuesday night at midnight, on a porch on the wrong street, with a woman in a rain jacket who had somewhere to be, and a man who watched her walk away and couldn't close the door. Sometimes Anna still thought about that moment. No, with drama, just with the quiet wonder of it. She had taken the wrong turn and found exactly where she was supposed to be. If this story found you tonight, if it made you feel something, let us know in the comments. Drop where you are watching from. We read every single one, and if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your sign. There are more stories waiting. We'll see you in the next one.